Okay. Okay, crazy stuff. 7M, no joke, reached out to us. Well, not directly to me, but I could say directly to me. And we know what their side is with this drama that's just unfolded, and I'll give you a quick breakdown of it. But honestly, it's kind of just mundane, I think. But it might not be, so we might as well get you guys like updated and up to speed there. I also want to talk to you guys about when I'm going to stream next, because my health is just really freaking bad right now, honestly. And, we've been having a hard time just getting through it for a few days. I'm coming out of it though, but every time I think I am, it hits me even harder. When I had probably one of the worst nights I've had in 10 years. 2 or 3 days ago, we almost called the ambulance. Like, that's how bad it was. I'm not even playing. I was in so much pain, but they really can't do much other than give me medication that I don't take. I don't take any narcotics. I haven't for 10 years, so I'm not going to now. So yeah, unless I'm dying, I usually don't call. So we didn't call, and I made it through it, so that's good. Anyway, I was supposed to go to the doctor today. It wasn't scheduled, and I ended up sleeping through it because I couldn't sleep last night. So I'm going to go tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. I think I'll be streaming tomorrow night. But anyway, there's my 30 to 40 seconds to let this thing get started after I share it. So let's go ahead and start. Out of nowhere today, Uncivil Law goes live after Nate the lawyer posts something on Twitter. And essentially what they were going live and saying is I don't want to misquote Uncivil Law's title, because his title is really indicative of why you're going to see a massive amount of misinformation thrown around out there for the next week, okay? There's going to be YouTubers that run with this just based off of his title without even listening to Uncivil Law. If you read his title, he said, Katie's lawsuit with 7M is over. Katie lost, kind of thing. I don't think he put Katie lost, but he pretty much did. So when you click his video and you start watching it, you come to the conclusion that pretty quickly that Katie owes 7M $1 million and that their case was defaulted. Now, if you follow the non sequitur case, there's a lot of people attacking Nate because he brought up the non sec case. There's a reason Nate has all the subs, and there's a reason he gets the views, and there's a reason that these, haters ain't got shit, okay? He knows what he's talking about. In that case, there was a huge contestment over default judgment. And we saw just how far a judge will go to avoid ruling for a default judgment. I don't know why Nate brought up the non-sec case, but I figure it has to do with that or something else very important to the issue. So anyway, everyone out there thinks that they can do everybody's job better than them. You know what I'm saying? They don't come in with a criticism. They just try to shit on everybody. And I'm just going to start fucking acting like the other. I'm going to start acting like the other side. I'm going to make a list. Yeah, I'm going to make a list. I'm going to block everybody. I'm just kidding. But no, it is kind of bullshit. I won't go on a rant. I don't want to bore you. Okay. Now, you probably want to know what 7M said when they reached out. You know what? I'll just spill the beans. They reached out directly to us. So someone that I'm not going to name, I'm going to let them name themselves, who is extremely close to me, had a sit down with 7M and gave me all the information to release. So, and it's not a lot. When I go live, I'll do a more detailed, I'm going to have to prep it because I'm not going to prep this live stream. I might just do it on UniRock too, but the long and short of it, 7M claims, and I've talked to several people since then, and some of them say, yeah, it seems normal. Others are saying this is not normal at all. There's something fishy going on. So you're going to have to make up your mind there, and I'll give you the details so you can, because that's my job, of course. That's what I do. Anyway. Okay. So 7M, as you know, the last thing that happened, Katie filed to dismiss the case. The judge said, no, there's enough evidence. There's enough base evidence for us to hear the case. So no, we're not going to dismiss it. So according to 7M, not the court, it hadn't been ruled on yet. This is a filing, proposed filing from 7M. So after Katie hears from the judge that, after she hears from the judge that they're not going to throw out the case, according to 7M, Katie had 2 weeks to respond to the judge. Now, we've tried to fact check it ourselves. We've talked to people. None of this makes sense. The judge made a ruling. The only reason Katie should respond is if she wants to contest or appeal or go against the judge's ruling. If she doesn't plan to, I find it almost like unnecessary for her to respond within 2 weeks. From what we can see, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know shit about this stuff. She shouldn't have to from what we've seen. So she seemed like she was correct to some degree. Now, here's the deal, though. Maybe she wasn't correct, or maybe she realized regardless, she's going to answer 7M, because today, I guess, she ran and filed in court a response so that, the judge will see it, so that she can tell the judge, look, judge, we just did, if we had to respond to you saying that you weren't going to throw out the case, we didn't know that. We weren't doing anything wrong. It was just, we didn't know. So the thing about the Caters and all these people out there celebrating the fact that Katie's going to have this already, again, the wording of where they got all their information from Uncivil made them think that it's already been settled upon, it's over, it's done, yada, yada. And of course, a lot of people are saying that that's pure clickbait, regardless of what Uncivil would have seen about this. It's really strange to use that title. I'm not going to accuse him directly. I'm just going to state that maybe try a little harder to kind of be clear there. That's not good coming from me, because I like to clown in my titles and thumbnails. I try to make jokes out of everything in it. So, but that's the thing. I don't think he does that, right? So when I go in and listen to him and I read his title, I'm thinking exactly what it says. All of you read my titles and you'll know when I'm just, memeing out, when I'm not. But anyway, so that's where we are now. Where we are is that 7M is trying as hard as they can to get a default judgment for, I believe it was $1 million, but I guess Nate, supposedly, I haven't seen it myself, I was told he updated it that they're seeking $40 million against Katie for a default. At first he said $1 million. Either way, 7M is seeking a large amount of money, claiming that Katie should be in default, which means that automatic loss, automatic win for 7M, and the judge has not responded. And judges typically don't want you to go by a default. They don't want to rule default because they want to see you win on the merits. If they go default, you can go and appeal it, and if there's even a slight reason that you went default, typically they'll just have to restart the whole process. And that's why it's unless there's a really damn good reason to default, the judge probably is not going to want to. The judges make a lot of decisions that are instead of wasting the court's time for years again, we're not, just because I threw it out for you to come back again to do this, you see what I'm saying, or you to appeal the ruling or whatever. So keep that in mind. 7M's side, again, directly from 7M, which shocked the living fuck out of me, that they were reaching out to YouTubers and giving them the information. I don't actually, it would tickle me purple if I found out they reached out to other YouTubers. But yeah, 7M directly reaches out and gives the paperwork. I have paperwork from 7M. I don't know if it's the same paperwork that's already been filed to court. I don't know if there's some additional papers. My next live stream, I'll hook you guys up. I don't know if Julie or AZ will want them, so they might, if they want to stream on it earlier, they're more than welcome to get the breaking news on that shit. You know me, I typically don't care about scoops. I go in for the commentary. So if you want to scoop it, and you chill, let me know. I'll hook you up. But yeah, this bothers me a little bit that 7M was reaching out to YouTubers to give them a little bit of this information, because that makes me think they're concerned about what the public sees and thinks about this. What you do is you already know that those YouTubers are going live, right? As soon as they see the court filing, there'll be at least some discussion around it or something. So, opening yourself up to getting accused of maybe feeding parts of your lawsuit to the public, or just whatever you could be accused of when you're in the middle of something like this. And I wonder who reached out. I wonder if it was Shin himself or some representative from 7M. I'll have to ask. But, it makes me wonder, did Shin or did 7M reach out to Uncivil? And that's why Uncivil did what he did. But anyway, and I'm not mad at Uncivil. I don't look down on, sometimes I'll say things that criticize him. It doesn't mean I hate him or that I cancel him or anything. I would expect that if me and him talked, or that if he sometime had to commentate on something involving me, I would hope he would be honest and critical and normal with me too, right? So just to put that out there, he is a pretty open guy when it comes to hearing people out. He doesn't seem like a lolcow is what I'm saying. He seems more grounded. Okay, anyway, so what's gonna happen though is the big question, and I'll give you the possibilities, of course, so that we're there a little quicker. There's only a few, right? This is a court thing, so there's only a few. Okay. Possibility number one, the judge agrees with 7M and rules that Katie is defaulted to a $40 million payment or settlement to 7M. If that would happen, Katie would obviously be charged a monthly amount, probably have to pay some initial chunk and then a monthly amount. But that would be after she filed an appeal and put in stays to pay until after appeal and went through that legal process, I would assume. And would she be successful? I mean, I have no idea what the law says. Talking to other YouTubers, most likely they said that the number one thing that's going to trump just about everything else, other than in the most extreme situations, is if it's a default, the judge isn't going to rule default. If it's not something negligent, if it's not something done maliciously, and if it's not something that's done on purpose, unless it's repeated, then maybe they will. But so that would happen if Katie loses immediately. So the next possibility is the middle ground, and it is that Katie responds. The judge says, yes, you were supposed to respond, but hey, you were late. It happens. Whatever. This is normal. And it is normal. This is normal kind of shit. Let's move on, and then the lawsuit will continue. That's the middle round. So what's the other side? What happens if Katie wins this? Now, that's the interesting side. If this went completely in 7M's favor, I already told you. If it went completely in Katie's favor, not only would the judge rule that she's not in default, but Katie and her lawyers have actually responded already, according to her, also with a request for sanctions against either 7M or their lawyers or something for misuse of the legal system to pressure or to pressure her to avoid discovery. So Katie's claim is that she has demanded discovery from 7M, and once they reached the discovery process, that 7M started to drag their feet. 7M was supposed to submit what they wanted from her. She has submitted what she wants from 7M, but 7M basically just stopped dead in their tracks. So the fact is, we already know that 7M missed a filing. They missed their date to file for discovery. It's almost like they just wanted the discovery not to happen on either side. That's the feeling I get. But Katie's claim is that they don't want to do discovery because they don't want the truth to be revealed and Katie to be able to not only, Katie will not only then have, the discovery, but if she finds, and I was given some examples like, so 7M, if they're a cult, right? Because that's the whole accusation that started this. If they are trafficking people, and that's another accusation that's out there, not by me, repeating the accusations that others have made, Katie. If that's true, most cult leaders do not pay their employees properly. So what they do is they pretend that they're paying them a large sum of money, but they only give them a small portion of it, if anything, and then they keep or launder or do whatever. And that could be an issue because Katie is wanting certain documents that would show whether or not that's happening. 7M doesn't want to give it up. She's thinking that the theatrics, that the way that everything's going is a result of 7M in this situation. You feel me? Them not wanting to reveal the thing that will expose them. Now, we've already gotten up to the point where I've given you both sides, most favorable, the neutral middle ground. I've told you what's more than likely going to happen, which is the neutral middle ground. But we now have to go to conspiracy town. So, because the Cater community, not the criticism, the haters, the Katie haters, the Caters, they don't have properly working ears, eyes, noses, or throats. They need an ear, eyes, nose, and throat doctor. Okay, they need a couple. They need three. They need 3 ear, eyes. No, they need 4. 1 for each because there's so much to work with on each front. They're going to need 4. They never hear you properly. They lie constantly. This next part is it's a thought. It's a what if. It's a rumor. It's a conspiracy theory. I'm telling you ahead of time so that they don't try to act like I'm making this damn claim. So, shit, let me go in here. So anyway, this next part is kind of crazy because at first I'm thinking to myself, nah, ain't happening. No way. But real quick, I'm like, actually, this might be happening. So imagine, you guys all know that Katie is with Netflix now, right? And they're doing a documentary on how 7M is a cult, according to Katie, right? And there is some evidence to back up that this is happening, by the way. So it's pretty much just taken as, yes, that's happening. So some people think that Katie really wants discovery because it's going to make that documentary real juicy, right? And I don't know about the legalities of any of that. I don't know if you can, learn things from discovery that you can, expose. I mean, you might have to report it to the cops and then expose it, but yeah. So one kind of off thought, what if Katie, we already know she is doing a documentary with Netflix to expose 7M's cult behavior, according to her, not me, her, Mr. Shin. This is not me saying this. This is all from Katie. I'm being very neutral and fair here. That she may really want this discovery from him, to get a couple extra chapters in that documentary, make it real exciting, make it real good. And if you guys want to see how effective, now, there are people out there that lie about my relationship with Frank Parlato. Frank Parlato is a man who busted a cult in a similar way to how Katie is attempting to bust 7M. So if you go to HBO, you could watch the Brittany Murphy documentary and see my beautiful beard, if you want to see that. But we're not talking about that right now. You could go over to the NXIVM. Do you remember the NXIVM documentary name? NXIVM documentary. the name of it, I forget, but if you just type in NXIVM documentary in Google, it'll pop up. But it's really fucking good. And it literally will give you a real example for what Katie and Netflix are trying to do, because it was a very successful documentary. Now, that's how I actually learned who Frank Parlato was. And again, I did not contact Frank. It was just like with, what's his name, the lawyer for Toddy Westbrook, Saltz. I didn't even contact Saltz, for God's sake. They were trying to get a hold of me for weeks before I even broke down and agreed to meet with them, only under certain conditions, which I can't say that I'm upset with Frank, because I'm not, because the majority of what certain people say, I'll just dump it out. The Lobster says about my relationship with Frank Parlato, they're all lies. Everything he says about what Frank thinks about him is a lie. So it's not like I'm going to be mad at Frank, because Frank talked to this Lobster motherfucker, and then he went around lying his ass off about everything that he could to try and clout and attack his enemies using Frank's name. But I really do implore you, whether you like me or hate me, doesn't matter. I have nothing to do with the NXIVM documentary. I've only hung out with one of the people in the documentary, Frank. But I encourage you to go watch it and see just how effective these kind of documentaries can be if they, and it's an if, because you have to, now I brought up that documentary on purpose. It has a narrative flow, and it's very purposeful, okay? They start with yourself meeting the cult leader, and then by the time you get halfway through the first season, and it's beautiful the way they do this, it's very moving, because they trick you, okay? By the time you're through with the first season, and if Julie Virgo, I see her in here, I hope you and Mama watch this, because oh my God, Mama would love this video, this series. But by the time you're halfway through it, you actually sympathize with Keith Raniere, the leader of the cult of NXIVM. You actually think to yourself, well, this dude actually motivates, like just hearing him for these few episodes, he's motivating me. I kind of want to do something with my life now. I kind of want to explore my full potential. I kind of want to pack my bags, move to New York, meet this guy, hang out, sleep next to him, and do everything he says, just after hearing him talk for a couple episodes. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you really do. You think he's a good guy, you sympathize, and then they start to slowly show you some of these other things that were happening right around the time that the people that are in the documentary start to realize it. And they take you on a journey of you, the viewer, being led by the cult leader a little bit before you start to realize the truth. And this is why I want you to watch it, because it also quickly shows you why they're dangerous, why cult leaders are so dangerous. And this whole big fucking myth that cult leaders don't use the internet. The internet is a tool for communication. You are fucking nuts if you think cult leaders aren't using the internet to their highest potential. The thing is, though, it's easy to fail. You're easily exposed on the internet as much as you're easily able to connect. So anyway, back to Shin, because I do want to let you guys know both sides of this story. So back to Robert Shin. He was not blindly accused by Katie of being a cult leader, okay? Now, for those of you that want to source this, search Robert Shin cult in Google and actually look for the several other news media reports that have found the previous members of the cult that have pulled the lawsuit that they filed against Shin 20 or 15 years ago, you will see that 4 or 5 of the core members of 7M were in that original cult with Shin as the leader. And now, all these years later, 7M pops up, and we all think it's just this dance troupe, which it is. But at the same time, they definitely are. They definitely, like, maybe they just got rid of all their culty beliefs back then when they got in trouble, when Shin got sued. Maybe Shin said, you know what? We're gonna break up the OG, whatever they called their 7M back then. I don't know what it was. We'll just call it the Lobster Symphony. So we're gonna break up the Lobster Symphony here, and we'll move forward and just start a dance troupe in 15 years. The issue is that B-dubs and all those people, they stayed with Robert Shin from the original accusation all the way up to now. Okay? Miranda did have a change in the way that she communicated with her family after she left to join this troupe. She had a religious change. She had her habits changed. Her personality changed. Also, she married B-Dash, or I think it's B-Dash. And B-Dash was someone, according to the people who came out to expose this a long time ago, someone who aided Shin in getting more members. And so you have to ask yourself, and the whole reason I bring this up, if they have been accused of human trafficking 15 years ago and all these other things, and have still kept up with the seclusive nature of their relationships and church grounds and all that, hanging on church grounds, trying to block people from, mingling unless they're part of the group and all that, that's still happening. Do you really want to back 7M like these crazy caters are? I'm not saying you got to back Katie. I don't back Katie. But I'm saying that doesn't mean you have to try to, for whatever reason, create a bubble in the internet somewhere where a potential cult leader can be worshipped. Because as you've seen before, these types of cult leaders, they seek out those bubbles, and they don't try to go in and just convert everybody. They find the most vulnerable. They find the ones that are the most emotionally taxed, right? They find the ones that might have some mental disorders or a death in the family, someone that's suffering. That's how they grow their cult. If that's what Shin is still up to. If Shin had never been taken to court 20 years ago and accused of running a cult, keeping the money of the people in the cult, forcing those people to stay in a certain area, if he wasn't accused of this before, and if he wasn't still the leader of a religious movement now, yeah, I wouldn't give any credence to what Katie said. I wouldn't consider him. When Katie first made the accusation, you can rewind back and see my video. And I think Katie is going down for this one because she just looks like she pulled all this out of nowhere, right? I've had to update my opinion regardless of the fact that Katie and I do not get along. And I've had to admit that, you really can't back 7M in this situation. Now you're more than welcome to. I'm just saying, unless you're okay with backing a cult leader, leading people to a cult, any of the above, if you're okay with adding to that mess or supporting that kind of mess, we literally do the opposite on my channel. So I can't back 7M. If 7M would come out and be public, if they would come out and actually allow people to go into their congregation and record, which most do, because that's their main way of attracting people. Put it on a website. Show people what you do. Show people what's up. Get them to come join. That's what you'd think you'd want, right? And when I looked to see if 7M did those things, they did not. They were very shrouded at that time. Now, maybe they've changed, okay? Maybe. But until something like that happens, no, I'm not supporting them. Sorry. And it doesn't mean that I'm on side KJP, but, the caters have to say that because they are scared of my commentary, so I get it. When they exist trying to fool people constantly, and then you get people like myself and Menace and Navy and AZ and Julie and everyone else out there who's all just trying to put out what happened, put out what's there, and give an opinion on it. We are the most dangerous thing to every grifter, every liar, every cult leader, because we actually will put out the truth. It doesn't matter if it makes Shin look good or bad, or Katie look good or bad. We're going to put it out. We're not going to try to do what these other people are doing. And when they hear something bad for the side they support, they kind of keep it on a DL. And when they hear something good about, or when they hear something bad about their enemy, they make sure to stretch it to the fucking moon, right? That's the manipulation. All of that manipulation I've talked about for a long time is the exact same kind of propaganda. It's the same kind of lying. It's the same kind of manipulation that cult leaders use. It is. It's a fact. Now, I don't want to sit here and drone on, because honestly, I could talk to you guys for hours. You know me. But I'm pretty miserable still, honestly. And I just need to have another day trying to knock this infection out of me. But I think I've got it. There's this old movie where this dude takes this little spacecraft inside of someone's body and shit. I forget the name of it. I think Rick Moranis was in it. I could be wrong. Old school movie. That's how I feel like I'm battling these little fucking infectious, bacteria or whatever the fuck I have and that's making my tooth swell up. Yeah. And just a little bit of warning for those of you that have never had a tooth pulled, an adult tooth pulled. It's not that painful. It's very painless. Now, the problem is if you don't go to get them pulled, like me, I should have had this pulled a month ago, but I waited to go to the doctor until I had my appointment. Then they give me antibiotics and then they ran out. And now I'm waiting on my appointment to get my tooth pulled and it's getting infected again. So it gets worse every time, just so. Old man Unirock is going to let you know that every single time that you let one of your teeth go, it's going to get worse every time. So I think this will be my third tooth that I've had pulled, because I had a tooth that cracked when I was injured in the military and I didn't know it until a couple years later and had them do that. So anyway, I miss you guys. You're awesome. I'm going to go hang out in my Discord server until I get real tired, which will only be an hour from now. And I'm going to go to bed early and see if I can get up swinging tomorrow. See if I can actually get a night's sleep, because, I'm fucking exhausted. It's like I wake up, I'll finally get to sleep. My tooth won't be hurting. I'll get an hour or two in, and then I'll wake up because I'll feel it throbbing, and it'll wake me up. So, yep. Now, today's been better, and I'm praying tonight will be better. No joke. So, anything else? Any of that little stuff? So 7M reached out to us. KJ responds, MGL cray. Yeah, the whole Molly update. I'm getting bored of Molly and her fundraising stuff. Now, we, in our last stream, were brought these screenshot images And it was the first time Letitia it's the first time we've ever seen Letitia when she wasn't in full pity me mode. Because every time she was on Molly's channel, it was pity me, which is actually okay because she did experience a tragedy. So the problem is these screenshots, which had been going on for like 7 hours, was a Facebook thread, Nonsense's Facebook's thread, Nonsense on the Web's Facebook thread, where Letitia had gone in and was cursing out anyone that was basically there were people just being nice and saying like, Letitia, it looks really bad for her, and I wish she would show evidence because then we could all just put this behind us. So you got to imagine you're Letitia and you're asking yourself, now according to Letitia, she's got her evidence sitting right next to her and she could show at any time the same way Nate the lawyer did, okay? And instead of showing evidence, instead of proving, and she promised to do this, remember, even though it doesn't matter, you still have to show proof whether you promise it or not in a fundraiser involving someone's death. I'm sorry. Or horrible tragedy. So instead of showing evidence, she decided, by the way, the evidence thing would have taken 2 minutes, and it truly would have owned every person who she thinks was being mean to her. Instead, she spent 7 or 8 hours literally cursing them all out, using expletives, dropping F-bombs, calling people names, just being a villain. And I'm sorry, but it's over at that point. Those of you that want to say, well, she's under a lot of stress, Uni, and all this stuff. Are you fucking kidding me? You have the evidence literally next to you. You've shown it to Molly. You've shown it to Goose, according to them. So it's already prepped and ready to show. And you're going to sit and fight with people for hours on Facebook instead of showing it. And just ending this. Yeah, you're fucking scamming everybody. You got them. And the fucked up thing is that Molly sat there that whole fucking time defending Letitia. But just like with Dre, where she only shows or lies about something that Dre's done to make it real big, Molly, with Letitia, she chooses to only tell her audience the most fabricated lie version of Letitia that there is. Because what we saw for that entire fucking huge chunk of time, she's probably still arguing with them right now. I'm not even kidding. But that whole time that she's been sitting there arguing with those people, that whole time that she's like insulting every one of those people were donators who gave Letitia literally weeks worth of pay at once or more. One of them definitely was a $500 donor. Could you imagine somebody like learning about your loss, giving you 2 weeks of fucking pay so that you can, help your son and your grandson? And when you go back to that person a couple months later and you say, you didn't do any of the stuff you promised, they curse you out, call you names, shit on you, make fun of you, and just dunk on you. Are you really going to walk away from that and say, no, they're not ripping me off. They didn't take and keep my money. The whole point is, if someone's willing to act that way on the internet to people that have given them money, if they don't have an appreciation, if they don't have a respect, why in the world would we think they wouldn't steal the money in the fucking first place? These people that like Molly and the people that believe Molly, who get their heads stuck in these circular narratives, end up getting convinced of them. Before even making a decision, they don't even ask themselves, what would you do? What would you think? They don't put themselves in their shoes, right? And, if it was up to me, I would be streaming right now, but I ain't no lobster. I'm not no Uni Golightly. So I'm going to take the night to take care of myself. If you want to jump in my Discord and hang, though, I'll be in there. Okay. Love you guys. You're awesome. We're gonna party our asses off when I get back on streaming. And I'm just glad that we as a community can come into any internet situation and take the evidence of both sides and be able to get to the conclusion every time. And we've done this every time. They'll all say I'm wrong at first. Every single story, all of them, they all say I'm wrong at first. You've watched it happen for months and months and months and years, even with some. With every single one, every one, you know what happened.